Once, in a quiet valley surrounded by soft rolling hills, there lived a young man named Matteo. He was only 24, yet his heart felt heavier than most people twice his age. His mind never stopped racing. Thoughts came and went like restless birds, never still, never silent. He worried about things that hadn't happened yet and replayed old regrets that refused to fade. No matter how beautiful the morning, Matteo's heart felt cloudy. He tried walking in the fields, talking to friends, even reading books about happiness, but nothing worked for long. His nights were the hardest. When the world went quiet, his thoughts grew louder. Sleep rarely came easily, and when it did, it brought uneasy dreams. People in his village said Matteo was a good lad, polite, hard-working, but they also whispered that he seemed lost, like someone looking for something he couldn't name. He often wondered if peace was even possible for a mind like his. One afternoon, while resting by a stream, Matteo overheard two travelers talking about a wise old man who lived far up in the mountains. They said he had once been a well-known doctor of the mind in the city, someone who had helped countless people find calm and meaning in their lives. When he grew older, he left behind the noise of city streets and built himself a small home in the hills, close to nature, where the air was clean and the heart could breathe again. They said travelers still came to see him, not for medicine, but for wisdom. That night, Matteo couldn't stop thinking about it. Maybe, he thought, this wise man might know what's wrong with me. Maybe he can teach me how to quiet my thoughts. So the next morning, before the sun rose, Matteo packed a small bag, some bread, a bottle of water, and a blanket, and began his journey toward the mountains. The road was long and the climb steep. He passed through tiny hamlets where the smell of baked bread filled the air, crossed cold streams, and slept under starry skies. Each step felt like a step away from his old life, and perhaps a step closer to peace. Days later, as the sun painted the sky gold, Matteo finally reached a small green-covered cottage perched on the edge of a quiet forest. On the porch sat an old man with silver hair and gentle eyes, sitting so still that he almost seemed part of the mountain itself. Matteo took a deep breath, walked closer, and softly said, "Sir, my heart feels troubled. My mind will not rest. Can you help me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes, smiled kindly, and said, "If you seek peace, young man, come with me. But first, you must learn to see what peace really is." The old man rose slowly from his chair, his movements calm and deliberate. His eyes twinkled with kindness as he gestured for Matteo to follow. They walked together through a narrow path behind the cottage, where flowers grew wild and the soft hum of bees filled the air. A little stream trickled nearby, and the sound of running water felt like a whisper from the earth itself. When they reached the small garden, the old man turned to Matteo and said, "You say your mind will not rest. Today I will give you a small task. If you do it well, you may begin to understand where peace hides." He walked to a wooden table and picked up a clear glass. Then, with slow precision, he filled it to the very brim with water, so full that even the gentlest movement would cause a drop to spill. Holding it carefully, the old man said, "Take this glass, my boy.
Walk from here down to the far end of the village and back again. But remember, you must not spill even a single drop of water." Matteo blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. "That's all?" he asked, surprised. "That's all," the old man said with a faint smile. "But it's not as easy as it sounds." So Matteo took the glass with both hands and began his walk. The village road was uneven and lively. Children were laughing and chasing a stray dog. A woman was hanging laundry, singing an old folk tune. A man passed by carrying a basket of apples and greeted him cheerfully. But Matteo dared not look around. His eyes stayed locked on the glass, watching the water shimmer in the sunlight. Each step felt like a test of patience. A sudden breeze made the surface of the water tremble, but he steadied his hands and slowed his pace. People glanced at him with curiosity, but no one interrupted. There was something about the seriousness in his face, a quiet focus that made even the noisy street seem to soften around him. By the time Matteo returned to the old man's cottage, his arms were aching, but the glass remained full. Not a single drop had been lost. With a small sense of pride, he said, "I've done it. Not one drop spilled." The old man nodded, clearly pleased. "That's good," he said gently. "But tell me, as you walked through the village, did you notice the children playing by the stream or the birds singing in the trees?" Matteo looked puzzled. "No, I didn't notice anything. I was too focused on the glass." The old man's smile deepened. "Ah," he said softly, "then you already know what it means to quiet the mind. When your attention stays with one thing, fully, completely, your thoughts cannot wander. The noise of the world fades away." He placed a hand on Matteo's shoulder and said, "Peace isn't something you must chase. It comes when your mind stops running."
For a long moment, Matteo stood quietly, thinking about the old man's words. The breeze brushed softly against his face, and somewhere nearby, a bird called out from the trees. For the first time in a while, Matteo didn't rush to answer his thoughts. He simply listened. The old man walked back toward the porch and motioned for Matteo to sit beside him. The afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the garden, and the shadows of the leaves danced lazily on the ground. "Tell me, Matteo," the old man said gently, "what troubled you so much before you came here?" Matteo sighed deeply. "My thoughts never stop. I think about my past mistakes, things I should have done differently. And when I'm not doing that, I'm worrying about what might go wrong in the future. I can't seem to stop." The old man nodded slowly. "You see, my boy, that is how most people live, trapped between yesterday and tomorrow. The mind likes to wander. It pulls us back into old regrets or pushes us ahead into fears that haven't happened yet. Very few of us truly live in the only place where peace exists, this very moment." He paused, letting the silence rest between them. The sound of the stream filled the air again, soft, steady, peaceful. "Think of your mind as a lake," the old man continued. "When the wind blows, the surface ripples, and you cannot see what lies beneath. But when the wind stops, the water becomes clear, and you can see to the bottom. Your thoughts are that wind. When they quiet down, the peace that was always there begins to show itself." Matteo thought about the glass of water and realized what the old man meant. When he had focused completely on not spilling the water, all other thoughts had vanished. He hadn't been thinking about the past or the future. He had been there, fully present, step by step. Peace isn't something you must travel far to find, the old man said softly. It's not hidden in the mountains or the stars. It's already within you. It always was. You simply forgot where to look. Mateo's heart felt lighter, as if a door had quietly opened inside him. For so long, he had been chasing peace, thinking it was something distant, something to earn or discover. But now he saw it differently. Peace wasn't a treasure waiting to be found. It was the stillness beneath all the noise. As evening approached, the old man stood and looked toward the fading sun. He said, "Tomorrow morning, I will teach you how to return to that stillness whenever life pulls you away. For now, rest. Let your mind breathe." Mateo nodded gratefully. For the first time in years, he felt no need to think, to fix, or to worry. He simply was.
When dawn arrived, the sky was brushed with shades of rose and gold. The air felt cool and fresh, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. Mateo opened his eyes to the sound of birds greeting the morning. For the first time in years, his chest felt light. No anxious thoughts rushed in to greet him. For a while, he simply lay still, watching the sunlight slowly touch the world around him. The old man was already outside, tending to his small garden. Mateo joined him, offering to help. Together, they watered the plants in silence. The old man smiled softly. "Peace," he said, "is much like this garden. It needs care, patience, and gentle attention. If you neglect it, weeds of worry and fear will grow again. But if you tend to it daily, it will bloom quietly inside you." They finished their work and sat by the stream, sipping tea brewed from wild herbs. The old man's eyes reflected the stillness of the water. "Now, Mateo," he began, "tell me what you learned yesterday." Mateo thought carefully before answering. "When I focused on the glass of water, everything else disappeared. I wasn't lost in thoughts. I was only aware of what I was doing. I think that's what peace feels like." The old man nodded. "Yes, you see, peace doesn't mean your life will be free of noise or challenge. It means your mind remains calm even when the world is not. It is the art of living in the present, completely and wholeheartedly." He leaned forward slightly, his voice steady and kind. "When you eat, just eat. Taste your food. When you walk, feel each step. When you listen, truly listen, not with ears waiting to reply, but with a quiet heart. That is mindfulness. That is where peace lives." Mateo listened intently. He felt as though each word was washing away the dust of old worries that had clung to him for years. He realized how often he had rushed through life, doing one thing while thinking about another. The old man continued, "Most people think peace comes from fixing the outside world, making sure everything goes their way. But the truth is, the world will always change. People will come and go. Seasons will turn. True peace must live within you, where no storm can reach." The sun had climbed higher now, sparkling over the stream. Mateo closed his eyes, breathing slowly. He felt the warmth on his face, the coolness of the breeze, the gentle rhythm of his own heartbeat, and for a brief, shining moment, everything felt connected. The old man smiled, watching him. He whispered, "That's it. Right now, in this moment, you are at peace, not because life is perfect, but because you have stopped fighting it." Mateo opened his eyes and smiled back. He said, "I understand now. Peace isn't something to find, it's something to allow."
A few days later, the time came for Matteo to leave the mountain village. The old man stood with him by the gate, sunlight glimmering through the trees. The air was cool, touched by the soft rustle of leaves. Matteo felt a mixture of peace and sadness, peace for what he had found, and sadness to be leaving the one who had shown him the way. "Grandfather," Matteo said quietly, "I don't know how to thank you. You've given me more than I came for." The old man smiled, his eyes calm and bright. "You owe me nothing, my boy. You found what was already within you. Remember, peace is not a place you visit. It's a companion you carry. Wherever life takes you, whether the days are kind or difficult, return to your breath, to this moment, and you will never lose it." Matteo bowed his head, his heart full. Then he turned toward the path that led down the mountain. As he walked, everything looked different, not because the world had changed, but because he had. The chirping of birds, the scent of pine, the warmth of sunlight on his skin, each small thing felt precious. On his way home, Matteo stopped by a small brook where he had rested days earlier. The same water flowed, but now he truly saw it, not just as a sound or a sight, but as a living rhythm of peace itself. He smiled, remembering the glass of water and how it had begun everything. By the time Matteo reached his village, the evening sky was painted in soft amber and lavender hues. His neighbors greeted him warmly. They noticed something different about him. His eyes were gentler, his voice quieter, his smile unhurried. That night, Matteo sat outside his home, watching the stars appear one by one. He didn't think about yesterday, and he didn't worry about tomorrow. He simply breathed. The same mind that once felt like a storm now rested like a calm lake beneath the moonlight. He realized that life would continue to bring its share of noise, moments of joy and sorrow, gain and loss, but he was no longer afraid. He knew how to return to the stillness within him. The peace he had sought was not hidden in the mountains, nor in the wise man's words, but in the simple act of being here, now. As the night deepened, Matteo whispered softly to himself, "The old man was right. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you remember." He closed his eyes, letting the quiet wrap around him like a gentle blanket. The world was at rest, and so was he. A gentle reminder that peace is always waiting inside you, in every breath, in every moment, in every heartbeat.